If you've ever been on Grindr before, I'm sure you've eaten meat before, but I'm asking you a simple question. Do you appreciate that meat? Do you love that meat? When you gobble that glizzy, when it's going down your gullet, when you're swallowing those children, do you, as a man, enjoy those kids? A question that Billie Eilish asked me very simply when she did an interview saying that if you're vegan, you can't eat animals and love them. And by goodness, bisexual Jesus, I'm delicious. I just want to say that right now. See, people assume that caring about animals and eating meat can't exist in the same ecosystem for some odd reason. And it's a strange assumption. I don't know what's going on there. Every living thing survives through the energy of something else. Plants pull energy from the earth. Animals eat plants, and other animals, it just continues and goes and goes and goes. Humans participate in that same cycle. When I eat meat, I am not looking at it with hatred and disgust. I'm looking at it with appreciation. This life became part of my life. Its strength becomes my strength. Its nutrients help me grow, help me heal, and continue forward. There's something humbling about understanding that my existence depends on the sacrifices of other living beings. And I don't think that sacrifice is cruel. I think it's nature. Nature in itself as a concept has never been sentimental. I do not consider the tornado malicious for taking me out. I don't consider the hurricane destructive for just being a hurricane. It simply is. A tsunami doesn't know it's taking out an entire village. Tsunami just does. That's how tsunamis operate. That's how the world operates, and that's how I operate. Nothing truly goes to waste for long, though. The animal nourishes me, and one day I will be a delicious meal for the earth. Oh, I'm gonna be so tasty. Oh my God, I'm gonna be so delicious. I hope that the worms have the greatest bounty upon my corpse to ever exist. It's gonna be amazing. And then those worms will nourish the birds, and then those birds will nourish another creature, and it's gonna keep going. Decomposers, insects, plants, unseen organisms will continue the cycle after I am gone, and it gives me such joy to be delicious. Oh my God, if I could be a filet mignon meal to some decomposers, ooh, that's gonna be good. I do not see myself as standing above nature. I am part of it. If a wolf, bear, or some other creature were to eat me after my death, I would simply become another link in the chain, a chain that has existed for millions of years. Life feeds life, death feeds life. Everything eventually returns to the world that created it, and that is the beauty of life. But we're not here to talk about that in general. We're here to talk about the other people's takes about how they feel about death, life, and totality. That is what I am here to do today. So let's talk about the fun, beautiful nonsense of TikTok. Let's go ahead and look at some creators who have very strong opinions
The thing
about
Billie Eilish
TikTok. Let's go ahead and look at some very powerful creators who have some very strong opinions about Billie Eilish's take on the entirety of the vegan statement. Let's go ahead and check it out.
stands can't seem to compute in your fucking heads is that this whole debate about you hating animals if you eat meat. Yes, spoiler alert, the world is a lot bigger than your online cultural perspective.
True, it is way bigger. It's way bigger. It's very Puritan, very virtue signally to do so. And you know what's crazy? Vegans eat plants. Plants are alive. So when does being alive stop mattering in some capacity? Because I know vegans don't eat cheese because it comes from animals in some capacity. So that's the whole thing there. I don't understand. And maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe my brain is actually a little bit squishy and going nuts. Where do vegans stop? Where does the stop happen? I need to figure out where the stop happens so I can know where everything goes. Just let me know when that stop happens.
Beg of you, read a book, if you even know what that is. As I literally mentioned in my previous video, you Billie Eilish fans, alongside Billie Eilish herself, are completely forgetting the cultural impact that animals have in some human lives. Many indigenous cultures, like Indigenous Americans, many cultures within Africa, many cultures within Asia, look after animals far better than any one of you could ever even imagine.
True. That is a true thing. I know in Indian culture, they don't eat cows as well. That's a whole big thing there. And also, I think we've come to a stance point where we as a society have taken the opinions of celebrities as gospel for everything. There's a very famous clip of Morgan Freeman saying, if you want to get rid of racism, stop talking about it. It seems as though we need to get rid of racism. And every single white person in the vicinity said, he's right. We got to stop talking about racism and we'll get rid of it. That's a stupid take. Morgan Freeman, you are the voice of God. Doesn't mean you're smart. That's not a smart take. If you want to get rid of racism, stop talking about it. No, you still you won't get rid of racism if you stop talking about racism, because people will still be racist. right? Like, it doesn't eliminate the issue if you don't mention the issue. You want to get rid of domestic abuse? Stop talking about domestic abuse. You see how stupid that sounds? People still are going to domestically abuse people. It sounds so smart because it's coming from somebody who's centered and has legacy and pride, and he played God and Bruce Almighty. No, dude. You just like him because he does a lot of documentary voiceovers. I'm not going to listen to this hyper rich black man. It's like if I listen to Tyler Perry about anything. I'm not listening to Tyler Perry about a goddamn thing. I refuse to listen to Tyler Perry about that. It just seems goofy to take Billie Eilish, who has the privilege of being vegan, and people say, well, it's not a privilege to be vegan. It is a privilege to be vegan. You have the option to choose your diet in every capacity. You can choose your diet. You can choose every part of your diet. If you have the ability to do that at any point in time, that's a privilege. Most people don't get that option. When I was homeless, I went to food banks, and you know what they served me? Meat. What am I gonna say? Sorry guys, I may be homeless, but I'm vegan. I can't eat this meat. It looks delicious and it's fantastic, and it would fill me up and help me stop this immense hunger pain that I'm going through. But it's December, it's -2 outside, and I'd rather care about, my own pride and humility than be full of food. It just seems crazy to do so. It's so morally grandstanding to do that.
Many indigenous cultures recognize how they need animals within the circle of life, and so they respect them. They understand, they adhere to them. They literally have entire festivals to recognize them and to give worship to them. They respect animals and they understand that they need to consume them in some sense, but that is literally just the aspect of life itself. And so I'm so sorry, but this take that Billie Eilish has done, and this take that you guys are so vehemently trying to defend, is not only so two-dimensional and lacks critical thought, but it completely ignores the complexities of the human-animal relationship that has been there since the dawn of time.
It makes me feel like humans think they're better than everything else. It goes into this human centralism idea that we believe that we are holier than thou and bigger than everything else because we have religion and we can talk to each other and we have music and all this other stuff. It confuses me. It deeply confuses me that we think that we're so much better than everything else. Well, that's because we aren't. You see, we're put on this earth to be the greatest creature, and everything else is beast, and I'm a Christian, and alright, man. I'm happy you commented that. Have a fun day. Thank you for your take. I'm so happy we have differing opinions. I just think that we are beasts as well. We just have the ability to talk. That's pretty much where we're at. We can talk. We can make complex societies. We can make constructs in our complex societies. That's where we're at. That's how we operate as human beings. We are no better than beasts for the most part. We have fought against our nature. We have built houses to go against our nature. And we have, even me talking into this microphone and you hearing me is such a powerful thing we can do because I have the ability to communicate through time and space. Literally through time and space, because you could be watching this at any moment in your life, and it doesn't matter where you are in space, you can watch this. It's beautiful to have that ability and power, but we're still not the greatest thing ever. We're just humans. Please acknowledge that we are also participating in the circle of life. We have to eat. We don't have to eat meat, but we have to eat in general. Things that are alive. Plants are alive too.
Especially in indigenous cultures. And so at this point, if you still agree with Billie Eilish, I'm just going to assume that you're some angry 13-year-old who doesn't understand the meaning of critical thought or cultural nuances. Because again, if you seriously think that this whole conversation is that simple, then you are only advertising your ignorance.
Yeah, it is not that simple. It's not as simple as that. And I'm happy Billie Eilish has takes of that variety. We can see their veganism and stuff of that variety. But it feels very, if I could be so bold to say, white leftist. If I could be so suffice to say, if I could be so bold to say. But we have another video from an indigenous person on the entire veganism thing. So this is the subsequent discourse of the veganism. If you're curious about the previous creator, this previous creator's name is Kimberly Online. If you want to go ahead and follow them, they're Kimberly Online. Just want to make sure I give them a shout out. And let's go ahead and talk about the indigenous person.
I don't know if you've been paying attention for the past week, but that video that came out of Billie Eilish basically stating you can't love animals and eat meat at the same time has sparked a lot of backlash and a lot of discourse on multiple platforms.
It has. I've seen people go wildly crazy and just insult people and attack people saying, see, a celebrity said it, so it must be true. I've seen people use this as a reinforcing, boldening thing to attack things. And I think there is a moment where where so a lot of people want to have these big purity tests where you're a part of every single cause, and celebrities especially love being a part and being closer to their fans. And that's why a lot of celebrities started streaming and doing all this stuff and getting closer to the streamers, because they want to be closer to their fans to deepen and embolden that parasocial relationship, which is very dangerous. It's just very dangerous to do so. It just is.
Any industry, whether it be meat, plant, textile, at the end of the day, if it operates in a colonial system and a capitalistic system, it disproportionately affects Black and Indigenous people, especially farm workers. That being said, I believe everybody should be vegan or vegetarian as possible as you personally can. The main issue I see with everything is particularly YT vegans in regards to indigenous lifestyles and indigenous hunting practices. Over the past week, we've had vegans, mainly YT vegans, state to indigenous people that their ways of life, ways of eating, hunting, lifestyle, are evil, they're murderers, and they need to move into the modern times.
Yeah, it is this white savior complex when I see it a lot of the time. It's the mindset that my lifestyle is better than your lifestyle, and it's the same lifestyle that enacted a lot of, specifically, the transatlantic slave trade when that happened. And this happened with Irish people and the Geats. It happened with Norsemen. They said, oh, the Vikings are savages, we have to enslave them. Oh, Black people are savages, we have to enslave them. A lot of cultures experience immense racism and immense slavery throughout a lot of enslavement. This happened with lesser people in Japan. They were slave workers. This happened with many other cultures where so many other cultures just thought, well, my culture is better, and I'm going to colonize, or I'm going to make you guys sophisticated. They call it a sophistication process back in the day, but it's basically just colonizing, because we are colonies. We're going to make you a part of the colonies. Essentially, that's what they were doing. And it happened to Black people, it happened to Irish people, it happened to Scots people, it happened to Jewish people, it happened to a lot of people in history. It's just, I think most people only hear about Black people a lot of the time when it comes to a lot of the slavery stuff, but it did happen to a lot of other cultures, and it happened because people just immediately thought that they were better than everybody else. And yes, it wasn't just white people that enslaved people. There were other parts of slavery that were happening. Hell, in Africa, if you've ever been to Africa, they even talk about it. If you ask any Ethiopian, they'll tell you about it. Ask any Nigerian, they'll tell you about the slavery that was going on in Africa. They'll tell you.
Now, one thing I would like to point out is that many indigenous communities are in rural and remote places for a reason. The government put them in there so that they could starve populations out.
Yeah, that was a wild tactic. Same reason they put Black people in the projects, and why if you go to a Black neighborhood, you'll see a liquor store. If you see a liquor store and then a nail salon and a Chinese restaurant and a Seaway market, if you see a place where you can use food stamps that doesn't have a regular name brand thing, food for less, Seaway market, something of that variety, where food stamps are propagated as the best that you can use there, and the price of regular food is way higher, but you can use food stamps. See, this is the strategy that they do. This is really interesting here. I want to talk about this for a second because this is a good segue into this. So what happens in a lot of lesser communities is that a lot of foods in a lot of Black communities will be double the price, and this is because you can use food stamps there. So how a lot of Black people will, exchange food stamps is, I'll give you $200 in food stamps for $100 of regular money, because food stamps are often used at stores that only can use food stamps, essentially, because you'll see a bag of Oreos that usually will go for $3.40, and then it will be $7, and you'll say, okay, if I use food stamps, it's basically like I'm spending no money. So you use food stamps, so you buy that, so they double the price, so you go through your food stamps faster. It's a strategy they've enacted for quite some time. That's why if you use regular cash in one of these stores, you say, why is everything so expensive in the hood? Well, that's because people are using food stamps. That's the thing there. And they use this strategy in order to make people stay in these places, because it's horrifying. It's just strange and weird to do. But that's why they do a lot of the stuff there.
That's why you see a lot of indigenous communities in food deserts, where food drastically is 10 to 20, even 30 to 40% more than mainland United States and around urban areas. I'd like to put this in perspective. The indigenous people currently alive are descendants of the 5% still alive after 95% of the indigenous population in the Western Hemisphere was genocided.
Yeah, that was it was horrifying. The Trail of Tears. If you don't know history, that was just Trail of Tears all that stuff. It was just evil stuff going on there.
Indigenous people trying to survive, utilizing their traditional lifestyles and diets is not the problem. Whether it be the meat industry or if it's replaced with the plant industry, workers in the global south will always be exploited and indigenous people displaced from their lands to prop up these farms. Any industry that is currently in this colonial system that works through capitalism and exploitive practices and purposes, it doesn't matter if you dress it up, if you tear down the meat industry. The plant industry that replaces it is still exploiting farm workers. It
still goes and goes and goes and goes. I think you should be as much as the activist as you possibly can, right? I would always die on this hill that you as a person should be as much as an activist as you possibly can, because a lot of people don't understand what I mean when I say that. They think, oh, you gotta support every single cause. No, do what you can. What do you do when you can't do nothing? Do what you can. It's very important to live by that mindset of do what you can. Most people will say, oh, you got to support every single cause. You got to support the Congo and Palestine, and you got to hate the IDF, and you got to do this and that. And you can all do that, but you're also telling you got to like not eat at certain places and stuff of that variety. And that's okay, right? I think boycotts work when they are centered and focused. I think boycotts work when you have one goal at a time. I think because a lot of people will say, okay, don't eat at Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, don't eat at Wendy's, and don't eat at Burger King. All right, well, that's a bit rough. That's all that's in my area. Well, then shop locally. That's a bit further. It's a 10-mile drive, and I don't have the gas money because the gas is really expensive. And, well, you're just making excuses. And they'll turn it into this big purity test. I think you should be as much as an activist as you humanly can, when you can, as much as possible. That's it. That's all you got to do. Do whatever you can within your means to be an activist. That is the most important thing that you could possibly do when it comes to all these issues in totality. That's also important because there is no ethical consumption under capitalism at all.
Still displacing indigenous people. Indigenous land defenders and water protectors are still being unalived in the global south while these efforts are ongoing. With the original video being done by Billie Eilish, which eventually created these types of discussions, there needs to be a lot more context and nuance. Like people utilizing indigenous lifestyles and indigenous communities as a way to shut down veganism like it's bad. Like if indigenous lifestyles and indigenous food science isn't mainly vegan. Indigenous people are being put into the middle of this conversation and either being blamed or being tokenized when it comes to trying to win arguments on the other side against one another. When it comes down to it, if you want to create a system that is sustainable, doesn't needlessly harm or waste, and feeds the community, then look no further than indigenous people and indigenous ways of life. If indigenous people aren't centered in this discussion that is happening on their own lands, being exploited, desecrated, and extracted, then any type of movement, any type of way of tearing down the system will be in vain.
It's so interesting to see a lot of this stuff go on in the conversations that are propagating around it. And if you're curious about this creator, this is Odd Hamboy. If you're curious on TikTok, Odd Hamboy. If you're curious about more of his perspectives and takes. And I think what happens with a lot of people is they want people to just be the best version of themselves, right? They want them to be the best version that they can possibly be. And I think that is a very fair goal. I think everybody wants to, at least in some capacity, be a good person, right? I think everybody wants people to be good people and be great at everything they do, but most people aren't going to do every single thing that makes them a good person. It's going to be horrible to have this. Now, we've heard a lot of perspectives of people, and you keep saying, well, what about the white leftists? I imagine people are curious about the white leftists who are saying this. I've never seen a white leftist say this. This is ridiculous. Well, I got to have, the other side of the argument. So here goes a white leftist talking about Billie Eilish being right and every anti-vegan talking point is wrong. And this is where we get the entitled vegan mindset. And this is gonna sound crazy. I don't mean to attack you people. I really don't. And I just want to preface this that this is not an attack. Why is it always white women? Like, can we say, why is it always white women? Why is every time an issue like this pops up, it's always a white woman who has a Republican family but is leftist? Why is that the entirety of what it, and it's not always that example, but that is a very common archetype I see, where it's, well, this white woman who, you know, is on the left now and, you know, loves black people and black squares in their profile, and, you know, that they cheat on their husband with a black man. I'm sorry, I'm just doing stereotypes right now. It's just so crazy. It just kills me so much that it's always for some reason a white woman, or very specifically, and you may hate to hear this, is always a it's always a non-binary AMAB. It's one of the two. It's one of those two things. I don't know what about those two specific groups have this deep veganistic core. I don't know what's going on there. Or it's a hipster guy that drinks matcha, loves avocado toast, and deeply is banned from the local bar scene, but they're in a band. You know what I mean? It's so specific to that variety group. I feel like I'm very narrowing down stereotyping, and generalizations don't do a lot of good in general, and I should really acknowledge that it is a generalization. But come on, guys, you know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? You grasp it? Okay, let's go ahead and watch this video.
I'm tired of seeing these same shitty arguments against it, so let's debunk some right now. Okay, objection number 1. Veganism is a privilege, and
it is a privilege. And this is gonna agitate me immediately. I'm gonna get angry as soon as I see this. Veganism is a privilege. Now, you could say that you could just exclusively buy, you know, vegan stuff, plants, vegetables, things of that variety. You could do that, and plants and vegetables don't cost a crazy amount, but a lot of plants and vegetables needs to be prepped beforehand. Even if you buy the quick versions of the apple slices or something like that, you still need something to balance it out. You could eat nuts and stuff like that as well, and it could be quick snacks. But a lot of tofu, a lot of even replacement meats and stuff of that variety is very expensive. It is. It's just an expensive thing. So I'm curious what she says about how it's not a privilege.
my defense of veganism is white veganism because I'm white. Okay, first, let's establish what white veganism actually entails. White veganism is defined by vegan activism that isn't intersectional, prioritizes animal rights over human rights, and doesn't consider barriers to participation in the movement. This is not mine or most other vegans' approach to veganism. I'm a Marxist, and as such, recognize that commercial agriculture is the product of industrial capitalism and
Man, she's using a lot of words that I don't care about. Holy, I'm sorry. Oh my god. What big language to say a bunch of nothing. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I just gotta hear her out. I'm just gonna hear her out because she's speaking really fast. I have this at normal speed, but she's talking really fast and she's talking extremely low. And I don't want to research any of these terms right now because it just seems like a bunch of big words.
Disproportionately harms working class minority populations. However, the narrative that veganism is inextricably shrouded in whiteness is harmful in and of itself because it makes people think that veganism is exclusively for rich white people and not for people like them. Additionally, the classic definition of veganism is a lifestyle that avoids animal exploitation as far as it is practical and possible. Vegans do not expect people who legitimately cannot afford to buy plant-based products or live in remote areas where hunting is a necessity to stick to a plant-based diet.
Okay, that's good. I like that. You know, that's a good take. I'm gonna hear her out more, and that's completely fair. She is 100% correct. She's convinced me. She has convinced me on that point. And I feel like she's gonna say but right here. I haven't watched the video yet, but I feel like she's gonna say but.
But if we're being
all right, you can see the b foam on her lip. So let's go crazy.
realistic, this isn't the case for the majority of people that are watching this video. A vegan
I don't know about that. It's definitely the case for me. I live in the hood. I live on the east side of Detroit. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I am in a horrible area. My place looks nice because I've reconstructed the attic, but my area sucks. And this is gonna sound, I gotta bring this up because it's very important to understanding where I live at. So two things that are going on. I have a firebomber in my neighborhood, right? There's a guy who is firebombing people and he's firebombing cars, right? I don't know why he's doing it, but it has been a phenomenon for the past few weeks. I am horrified to go outside because there is a prevalent firebomber in my area. Now, you could say, have you called the cops to see what they can do about it? I've contacted the cops and they said, well, you know, we got to find him, but you know, he loves burning things. I am confused. about this entire situation. It scares me, and I'm horrified about the firebomber because nobody's doing anything about said firebomber. It scares the hell out of me. Also, I would like to point out that my car right here, this car right here, was stripped of all of its stuff. I was stolen and stripped. Everything was taken out of it. Taking everything of value from my car. They took my battery right there. Engine's still in there, but it doesn't start because there's no battery. They took all the gas out, took the front hood off for some odd reason. Don't really know what's going on there. Now, you may think that's not crazy. It busted the windows. Like, you see they busted the windows because there's glass right there. They busted the window. Now, on the inside, they took my airbag. I can go for about $400. They took that, just kind of stripped everything. Now, this is how they got in the car. They had taken this off, stripped this down. They took this out, right? This is how I put my key in there. They took that out there. And then they put a USB of some sort in the bottom here to get inside of there. Now, they left my car an absolute godforsaken mess. Look, they had McDonald's in here of some sort. It looks like McDonald's. And then, right here, they took the middle. Everything of value was stripped from my car, right? Everything of value was completely stripped from my car. And her saying that most people aren't living in squalor, I feel as though that is also a thing of white privilege. I feel like most people are living in horrible situations, kind of like me. Maybe not as horrifyingly bad because I'm in Detroit, but I feel as though people are living in a horrifying thing. It's strange. It is strange.
Diet is also definitively more affordable than an omnivorous one in almost all instances across the globe. Now for objection number 2, which is veganism is colonialist. Kind of in the same vein here, but some people like to make it as a distinct argument, so I'll address it separately. As per the practical and possible definition I established above, veganism doesn't comment on the practices of native populations living in remote locations who have no feasible alternative besides hunting animals. The argument that veganism does make is that killing animals when it is not strictly necessary is bad, but it is.
Correct. I agree with that. Killing animals when it is not strictly necessary is a bad thing to do. I agree with that.
Is permissible in the instance of immediate survival. No reasonable vegan is interested in policing indigenous subsistence farmers and hunters because it is counterproductive to the movement as they make up like 0.0% of all global animal deaths.
100% correct. She's correct. It is true to do that. But even so, you don't know everybody's specific situation. And I agree with her on these points, and she's sounding very reasonable when it comes to this.
Like, there are bigger issues at hand here. Anyone that is making this argument and calling out like indigenous hunters in particular is not representative of the movement writ large. Last but not least, objection number 3. It's a systemic issue, so the burden shouldn't fall on individuals. And this is usually paired with some form of the phrase, no ethical consumption under capitalism. However, this argument only makes sense if you assume that there is absolutely no alternative to carnism or the consumption of animal products. Let's go with a quick analogy. If all clothes were produced in sweatshops, like it was inevitable, you have to purchase from a sweatshop, then it would be morally permissible to purchase clothes from sweatshops as there is no alternative available and clothes are a necessity. But upon the existence of a cheaper, more ethical clothing store that you could be buying from instead, it becomes unethical to purchase from these.
I'm just curious where the cheaper places are, because this is going to sound crazy. There's not many places around where I live, because gas is crazy expensive right now. There's not many places around where I am where I could possibly participate in this indefinitely. I stay in a very, within 20 miles of me, everywhere 20 miles out, 20 mile radius, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. I'd have to drive beyond 20 miles out in order to get vegan options or even vegetarian options. And we have a community farm, by the way. We have a community garden, right? We have a community garden. There's goats and stuff like that in my area. But that's also, we have to wait. We have to wait for that. And people kind of ransack it every week. So we are kind of forced to get kind of slop from food banks. That's really what we kind of eat slop from food banks. Even at the Detroit Food Co-op. It's a very nice place, by the way. They don't have any vegan options there, if I could be so bold to say.
Sweatshop source brand, unless it is absolutely necessary and for some reason you just cannot access the ethical clothing store. The defeatist, no ethical consumption line of reasoning also justifies ignoring every other social ill and not voting or boycotting on the grounds that none of us can ever make some sort of meaningful impact. But this obviously isn't true because individual change is what stimulates community action and also sources for.
That's 100% I agree with her on that. That's 100% correct. She is 100% right about too many people don't vote. It's a big reason why a lot of politicians get elected that shouldn't have gotten elected, is because a lot of people say, well, what's the point of my one vote? That's goofy. Well, we have 1 million people saying what's the point of my one vote, and those 1 million people could have made a wild change. So voting is very important. Your individual actions do matter in the grand scheme of things. But, and this is also a side note, I'd like to point this out. This does not include recycling or even to a lesser degree AI use. I hate bringing this up because people always want to correct me in some way, but I've done disgusting amounts of research on this. If everybody on Earth generated one AI image every day, we would still not even do 1/10 of one AI data center. That is how much water an AI data center is using. It is really bad. AI data centers are not just for ChatGPT or something of that variety. They're for everything. They're for things that track satellites. They're for the future innovations of stuff. They are for a lot of major CEO companies to get rid of human labor forces. So that is a big thing. We need to attack the AI data centers at the main standpoint and point, and we need to call our local representatives in order to make sure things are good. I'm sounding so preachy and activism-y, like an activist. I'm sounding in that variety like that, but man, it is killing me. It kills me to see that people have such a defeatist mindset. So she's 100% correct about people having a defeatist mindset. That's true.
Meaningful impact will go here. This video is now way too long, but I plan to make a separate video going over the philosophical justifications for ethical veganism.
So yeah, that's cool. Anyways, I'm not going to be a vegan because I like steak, but we're going to keep going forward.
Billie Eilish was absolutely right when she said, you can't love animals and also eat meat. You can be an animal lover, you can eat meat, but you can't do both.
This is the worst person. So I'm gonna go back and go to the other girl's page, but this is called Maggie Eats Vegan. This is her, and I'll go back to the other girl in a second. But man, this person is just the worst one. This is the worst one. It's crazy. You know, it's crazy. She encourages me to say exactly. I don't like animals. She encourages me to just immediately say, I just don't like animals. What about it? What about it? So now this is just the first few seconds, but we're gonna go ahead and listen to her and see what she has to say, because I like to hear people out. She may convince me through the video, so I like to hear it.
If you eat meat, you love pets. You love pets like dogs and cats and maybe your pet turtle. So
to be fair, that's not true at all. I have been, and this is gonna sound racist, but it's true. I've been to Korea, right? Korea, they have horse ribs. Horse ribs are very delicious. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a ritual on Jeju sometimes to, if you are about to, lose your virginity, you eat horse ribs to get your libido up. It's an aphrodisiac in a lot of ways. So that's a whole thing. I had a horse when I was, oh my God, when I was living in Amish country, I had a horse. I love that horse, and I was thinking about those horse ribs. That's what I was thinking about. So like that's my thought process there, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, man, let's have some horse ribs. That's delicious. I've also eaten cat and dog before. In Asian countries, they eat cat and dog. I've eaten cat and dog before. There's really very little difference in a lot of things. You ate Fido? Yes, it's meat. I don't know what to tell you. It's really don't. I love my pets, but I've also eaten my pets, if I could be so bold to say.
You don't love animals, because if you loved animals, you wouldn't eat them. You wouldn't subject them to the horror that is factory farming.
So yeah, I think this doesn't apply for hunters. I think this is specifically about, mass-produced meat. I think that's the issue that happens a lot. So when someone says an inflammatory statement immediately to get people generalizing, such as, like, if you love animals, if you eat meat, you don't love animals. You can't eat meat and love animals. When people say that inflammatory statement, people immediately have the same gut visceral reaction that I have, and they might pause the video and then comment and move on about their day. That might be what they do, because a lot of people will pause the video, comment, move on about their day, and just say, man, anyways, and keep going. That's exactly what happens a lot of the time.
And breeding just to be slaughtered, and then eat their dead bodies.
I mean, to be fair, it's someone's gonna eat my dead body at one point. I don't think the worm is evil. I don't think the decomposers are evil. I don't think the bugs and insects that are gonna crawl through my skull are evil. I don't think the little bugs that exist on my skin that eat my dead skin are evil. I don't consider that. I consider the fact that I am gonna be part of the beautiful cycle, the cyclical nature of the circle of life. That's important to me.
You just wouldn't do that if you loved animals. So I think there's a lot of disconnect. People will, love on their little chihuahua and buy them all the cute outfits and spoil them, get them a little pup cup at Starbucks, and then for lunch that day, they just eat a cow or a chicken.
Yeah, and so does my dog. My dog would probably eat the meat as well. Just like my dog. If I could be so bold to say, my dog would also eat eat the cow or the chicken. My dog would eat it as well. And I'm the same as my dog, for real. I'm out here. I'm DMX. So that's where I'm at right there.
Or, you know, turkey, whatever it is, right? Both once living, breathing things.
Now very delicious. Once living, now delicious. Same as me. Oh my God. I'm gonna tell you this right now, guys. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I can see it now. Oh, I can see it now. I can see me passing away, and as the time goes on and all the things get into my casket and all the little small pieces, and I want you to imagine this, right? Let's say I had a cardiac arrest, maybe I had a cardiac arrest from getting arrested, and I had a heart attack because the cops pulled me over and I accidentally lost my life. Boom. Now, everybody's sad about it. They're making a memorial page about me saying this is wrong, and I just become another argument on Twitter. Beautiful reality for me. Love to see it. So after that, I have a funeral. Everybody's sad, giving all their condolences. It's catered by Chick-fil-A. My gay friends they hate me because my mom chose Chick-fil-A because that's what I told her to do, because in my will. And then, as I'm going, as I'm getting lowered by 6 disappointing people so they can disappoint me one last time and lower my expectations and lower me down one more time, is gonna be beautiful as they let me down one more time to that 6-foot casket. And then after 7 years, the casket breaks down. After being in the dirt, being pressed against all that stuff. And they put concrete over me so I don't turn into a zombie. I can see all the worms crawling in, getting into my delicious, weak little body. The nourishment from my bone marrow. Oh, it's going to be amazing. Or even better, you can just toss me in the forest. You don't even got to have a funeral. You can just let me under a tree and put a crown over my head, a flower crown, and bury me in very minimal clothing. Maybe a loincloth with a flower crown over my head. And let nature have at me. Don't donate my body to science. Don't let anybody study and observe me. Give me to the elks. Give me to the bears and the wolves and the coyotes. Give me to those things. That way my body will nourish them. And that coyote may feel the spirit of my hatred and take out my ops. Oh, it's going to be amazing. Imagine a coyote eating me, feeling my anger throughout my body, me possessing that coyote, and then me going to kill my ops. Oh, bisexual Jesus. It'd be fantastic. I would love that. And that's why I love eating animals, because one day I'm going to get the spirit of a really angry cow. And I'm going to attack a farmer for no reason. I don't know where the anger came from. I don't know. I'm going to get meat sweats every time I see a cow. I'm going to get meat sweats every time I see a farmer too. It's going to be ridiculous. And I'm going to love that. Anyways, back to her, what she was saying.
And now, one is lunch.
Dinner and breakfast, baby. Let's go.
And one is maybe even eating with you at the table.
100%. 100%. You're all on the table. You're all meals to me. You're all snacks. You're all snacks. All of you. It reminds me of how death views us, right? I remember I was talking to my friend, and this is a while back, and they had said, I fear death because, it doesn't, I don't want to be not special. And I said, oh, well, you're special to death. You're all special to death. Because each of you will die in your own specific way. And that's beautiful. They said, what? Well, that's horrifying. I said, no, it's not. You could walk across the street and get crushed by an anvil. That did not help them or ease their tension at all. It made it significantly worse. They began to panic right in front of me. It was horrifying. I didn't make their stress any way better. That's it. That's the end of the story. I just wanted to explain that. I think death makes everyone special because everyone fears death, but to death, everyone's special. That's how I feel. I should have probably made their situation better, but I thought it'd be funnier to say that. Didn't realize the effect it was gonna have. Very horrible thing I did. Anyways, continuing forward.
Dog culture in America is absolutely insane. The way people pamper and treat their pets. I'm sure.
I don't know about that. I like the little Chihuahua bags. I enjoy seeing the rich white girl with the poodle bag. I enjoy seeing that. That's kind of cool to me.
It's this way in other countries as well. Nothing wrong with it, except for we're treating one animal this way and then we're eating other animals like that.
I don't know. I don't care about flies, if I could be so bold to say. And I've eaten cockroaches before. I've eaten chocolate ants. I've eaten crickets too. I don't know. I feel as though this is very. It's not the end of the video, by the way. That's very if I could be so bold to say, white veganism in totality is just that. So now we're gonna look at, before we continue, I want to give her a shout out because she's actually a better vegan than the other girl. It's Left is Alex is what it is. Left is Alex. So I just wanted to point that out. And it makes sense as a leftist, by the way. It just makes sense that it's a very, very far leftist that has these very morally pure takes and standpoints, and I can grasp that. So I'm going to give my final thoughts about the whole thing. I think a large part of the discomfort that a lot of people feel from eating meat often comes from the way animals are treated before they become food. And I think that is a very separate conversation. Factory farming is brutal. It removes dignity from the animal, and it creates this big distance from the eater. I have this very strange belief, and my wife has the same belief as me, and she expanded upon this, and I love her for that. She said that I feel as though everybody should at least carve and kill one animal before they continue to eat meat. And I think that's fair, right? Fishing, you can hunt, you can grab a fish, carve it up and debone it, and then skin it. Just one animal. I don't care what animal it is, just one animal. And then decide if you want to continue to eat meat. I think that's important. And I understand why people, reject the system of factory farming. I reject parts of it too. But rejecting industrial cruelty is not the same as rejecting the act of eating meat itself. One is about how we treat life in totality. The other is about whether life can be eaten at all. Those, to me, are different questions. Pretending they are the same exact question is a way of avoiding the harder conversation, about responsibility. Responsibility to the animal, to the land, to the cycle of life. And respect is possible. Right? That's why Christians pray before they eat. Gratitude is possible. Tradition is possible. Millions of people around the world live this way every day. They raise animals, they care for them, and they slaughter them with the intention. They waste nothing. They do not pretend the animal was not alive. They know exactly what they're doing. There is no guilt, no confusion, but there's clarity. I think the clarity comes from not lying to yourself about where food comes from. Right? That's important to know where food comes from. The grocery store wrapped in plastic and styrofoam is fake. It's all fake. And I don't need to apologize for eating meat. I also do not need to pretend I am separate from the animal. I am the animal. The animal is me. We share the same chemistry, the same carbon, the same temporary arrangement of this purposeless existence that we give purpose to. That's what we are. And we will eventually scatter and become something else, and I will continue as my energy is never destroyed. My dog will eat meat. My cat will eat meat. The birds outside eat insects. The insects eat decaying matter. The cycle does not stop at my plate. It will be disrespectful to nature, and I refuse to disrespect nature. The cycle does not care about my morality. No, the cycle just is. As I said in the beginning of the video, do you consider natural phenomenon evil? Is lightning evil for striking me? No, it's lightning, dude. That's what it is. It just strikes. Understanding this has made me more appreciative of animals. I love animals, and I also eat them. The wolf does not apologize to the deer. The deer does not apologize to the grass. The grass does not apologize to the soil. They are all parts of the same motion. And people want to enact morality onto natural phenomena. Is the black hole evil? It's destructive, but it's not evil. Is a supernova evil because it will take out Earth? No, it's a supernova. Morality, to me, is a deep human invention. It's useful, it's important, but it's not universal. The universe does not judge the hawk for eating a mouse. The universe watches the hawk eat the mouse. I am not the hawk. I am not separate from the hawk as well. The distance I feel from the act of eating is a product of a world where food comes in these clean packages, and animals are these abstract concepts. Abstract concepts do not die. They do not bleed. They do not make you feel anything. Real animals do. And I care about those animals because I eat them. I eat them. I eat them with the awareness of they once were alive. So was I at one point. And I care about the cycle more than I care about the strange morality of vegans. So with that being said, let me know your thought process on how you feel about veganism in totality. And we're going to end it there. Have a lovely day or night wherever you're at. And I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your nigga night, be my Laurel, low. happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride.